Well, Vice President Joe Biden met with Pope Francis today. Just a short time ago, Biden's photographer, in fact, posted this photo to Instagram. It does show the pair meeting privately in between speeches at an international conference on regenerative medicine. It is all a part of Biden's moonshot initiative to beat cancer. Before the encounter, however, Biden shared an anecdote about having met with the Pope shortly after losing his son.
He asked if he could meet with my family. We had just lost my son. And he met with my extended family in the hangar behind where the aircraft was. And I wish every grieving parent, brother, sister, mother, father, would have had the benefit of his words, his prayers, his presence. He provided us with more comfort than even he, I think, will ever understand.
Lovely words, those. CBS News foreign correspondent Seth Doane is in Rome, just outside of Vatican City, and he was inside the hall when the Vice President and the Pope both spoke. Seth, first, this cancer research conference, it's being held at the Vatican. What's the purpose?
Well, this is the third time the Vatican has held this conference looking at using stem cells, in this case adult stem cells. Of course, the Vatican opposes the use of embryonic stem cells. They're really trying to push forward medical advances in regenerative medicine. And in this case today, really talking mostly, because Vice President Joe Biden was here, about trying to push toward finding a global answer, a cure to cancer.
Obviously an extremely personal issue for the Vice President who lost his son, Beau. What was the overarching message and really the impact to your best sense from his speech?
Well, you were right. You played that clip coming into this seg that showed how personal that speech was. This is a personal issue. He, of course, lost his son, Joe Biden lost his son, Beau Biden, to brain cancer last year, and quickly after that he launched this major initiative, this so-called moonshot program, to try to find a cure for cancer. He's lobbied Congress trying to get $1 billion to try to find a cure, and today he was taking that message, which has really been focused domestically in America, and has taken that message to the world and said he believes that he can collaborate with leaders like Pope Francis to try to rally the greater community. He addressed this crowd today, and he called some of those people in the crowd, the doctors, the patients, the philanthropists, some of the most brilliant minds in the world.
And you mentioned again the Vatican's enduring support of this, using adult stem cells as well, however counterintuitive that might feel. Did Biden ask anything of those gathered in the international community there specifically that perhaps could be done in this fight?
A couple of times we were sitting in the speech listening to the whole thing, and one of the points he said is, you must share data. He said something very, very strongly from that podium, saying, look, when we have information about cancer patients, there are now, he talked about these supercomputers that are only getting better and better. He said there are ways of crunching that data, of trying to find answers if we can only compile, and he was saying drug companies, doctors, people should not be keeping this data for themselves. They should share it in an effort to try to find a cure. He was very specific in some ways, quite personal and quite pointed as well.
However, despite the serious nature both of his request and his visit there, and perhaps because this is this Vice President in particular, there were some moments of relative levity. What can you tell us?
Relative levity indeed. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that makes Vice President Biden so much fun to listen to is that he does speak off the cuff. At one point he joked about his age. The woman who was introducing them went through this long list of things that he had done, and he said, well, as you can see, I've had something like a 200-year career. I can't remember the number of years he said, but he joked about his long career. At one point he was listing a number of doctors who had helped him and had treated his son, and he mispronounced the name of the doctor, and he said, you know, I think I've mispronounced that doctor's name every time for the last 5 years or so that I've been talking about this. He said, doctor, you can call me Mr. Beaton if you like to. So he did have some, he did inject some levity into this very serious discussion. One thing that I thought was interesting, he talked about this trip to Iraq. You know, he made this last-minute, unannounced trip to Iraq. He flew here to Rome this morning. He had been visiting with leaders in Erbil, Kurds, and also Shia leaders in Baghdad. And he said, one of the interesting things is these Kurdish leaders, these Shia leaders, these Iraqi leaders I've been talking to all want to talk about another leader from a very different faith, and that is Pope Francis.
Seth Doane there in Rome.